The series begins in a strange world controlled by Jinn, goblins, and travelers. Amber Lee, the Jinn princess, appears, training with her cousin Ender, in order to become the first 6 of the 7 kings who will be chosen to protect the kingdom of the fairies from the goblins. Lauren, Amberly's lover, breaks up when he sees her in the challenge, and he sighs and tells her that the challenge this is dangerous because the young people will do everything in their power to win. So Amberly tells him that she too will do everything in her hands, and then the challenge begins, and it appears that there is one of the people who hates Amberly, so he falls on the ground as soon as he starts and yells at her, but she suddenly excels as soon as she hears someone's voice, the one who continues to guide her throughout the challenge, and Amberly actually succeeds, and they reconcile with her very much, but at the same time he remains proud of her, and the king has mercy on the chosen one. And then he tells the story of the Chris, which is a sacred tree, and those who gather every New Year in the secret garden to remember its story, and we know that thousands of years ago, the Jinn entered. There was a war with the goblin army, and what was about to end the people of the Jinn, and who succeeded in using special abilities to imprison the goblins in a place called the Forbidden. And we know that the Crest remained in a monitoring mode, and this means that as long as they exist, as long as the goblins remain imprisoned forever, and the king requests of the 7 chosen ones, they bear responsibility, and this is because they currently remain the guards of the chair. Then they are asked to approach the trees so that they can accept their presence. As soon as Amberly puts her hands on it, she sees the future, and what remains is all destruction. They suddenly appear on it at the same time that the nun appears, and the one who wakes up from sleep after he has been sleeping for 30 years, and in another place, Willow appears, who quickly returns to his sick mother, and this is because he was looking for medicine for her, but the illness is getting worse for his mother, and she knows that she will die, so she gives him the supernatural stones that belong to his father, and asks him to keep them, and asks him to look for them. Al-Nun then dies while he is buried in her favorite place, and then his uncle shows him the stones that his mother left with him, and his uncle tells him to throw the stones because they were the reason for his father's death, and they say that he is leaving the country and traveling because of his feelings of guilt towards his mother, and that he cannot save her. And we go back to Amberly, the one who draws the ghost she saw, and Lauren enters her, asking her to attend the celebration. So Amberly agrees, and she actually attends, and everyone present is amazed at her. During the celebration, Amberly hears the chair calling for her, so she falls in love and puts her hands on her, and suddenly she sees the future again, and sees herself killing Lauren and the one who enters on her, and he sees that she is nervous and tells him about the things that she is seeing, and Amber repeats that she leaves the palace and walks, and Lauren tries to stop her, but he fails, and Lolly goes on his way and meets a thief and the one who wants to kill him in order to rob him, but Eretria saves and kills the thief and seeks woe because he is a Jinn. This means that he is supposed to be smart, so he tells her that he is only half of the Jinn. So Sada comes to Eretria and takes him to her home. We return to the palace and see Chris and India apologizing, and this is the first time this has happened to her. He tells the king, and he does not know how to react at the same time that Nan arrives at the palace and believes the king. When he sees him, this is because he was thinking that he died, and the king will have mercy on him. And we know that they were friends for a long time, and he tells Alan that the Chris called him and that he must see her. And Bert Bay, when he knows that the Chris is dying, the king comes and asks him to prepare the army quickly, and we know that every leaf of the tree is trapped in a goblin. If all the leaves on the tree fall, then all the goblins will move. At this time, there will be a wool in Eretria's house. She sees the stones that he has and learns from them that they are supernatural. She enters Eretria's house and leaves and walks away. We go back to Chris, and from which a leaf falls. Suddenly one of the goblins is freed, and the next day, Will and Bella will die. Al-Nun is standing in front of him and asking him to put on his clothes and go out with him. And he believes Will when he finds out that he laughed at him and that Eretria betrayed him to steal his stones. And Will knows that Al-Nun is the person whose mother asked him to look for him, but Will is not convinced of his response, and they know that Al-Nun remains the last one of them, the Shannara dynasty, and that all his ancestors were warriors and kings, and that his father was a strong and great warrior. So what does he say? That his father was a drunkard and died poor and penniless, so they sold the code of truth, and they say that no one told him the truth, and that the magician runs in his blood like his father, and that he could have saved his mother if he had known how to use magic. In another place, the liberated goblin appears, and we see him blocking his transformed goblin, which still has the ability to change its appearance. The goblin asks her to go to the palace and protect the chosen ones, and this is because he will remain weak as long as the chair is there. When night comes, we see Eretria sitting on the road resting and meeting Amberly, who she will be on her way to her aunt. She tells Eretria that she is lying to her, and tells her that she is a teacher and that she is waiting for her husband. She brings Eretria a cup of burley and puts the drug in it, but Amberly suddenly throws the cup away and tells Eretria that she is seeing the future, and sees Eretria in it, and knows that she is a traveler and that she was lying because there is no wind in it. Her hands, and Eretria also knows that she is a princess because of the jewelry she wears, and we know that the fairies want to read the travelers, and this is because they live on theft, and Eretria begins when Amberly wins over her and takes her horse and walks away, and the next day Willow the nun arrives at the castle, which is a center for studying and practicing the art of magic, and they enter the castle to read a magical history book which contains a way to save the crest, tells Alan that his guide told him 300 years ago that the book is in the game. Will is surprised and tells him that it is too old for him to be alive until now. They read, but the nuns stop and tell him that it would never have arrived to the country he wants, and this is because the stones he had were guiding him. And in any case he was going to meet him, and at this moment he knows the location of the book and begins to use his strength to get it out, and this is because he was buried in the cave, and he asks Will not to move and see the magic, and Will looks at whoever sees him and is safe with magic, really, and then he notices the wounds on the hand of the Nan, and those who say that magic is always valuable, and that he must learn this, and suddenly the Nan breaks into reality and sees the goblin that has been liberated, and we know that the Nan is from the race of goblins, but he is against them. And they know the goblin that Demer has been liberated, that coercion has been destroyed, and the goblins will be free again. He tries to tell us that he is resisting the goblin, but he fails, and Viv wakes up to Will's voice, and they quickly cross the palace to protect him. In the palace we see Ander talking to his father, the king. They learn that Amberly was seeing the future and hearing the whispers. The king is disintegrated when he sees the drawings of his granddaughter and Hadecker, who are chosen for a safe place to protect them. And then we see Lauren and Who. They surprise Amberly in front of him, and she comes and tells him that the Chris spoke to her and told her that there is a goblin in the palace and that they must warn the chosen ones. So he tells Lauren that the king has moved them to a safe place and tells her about it, so she stays near Amberly to him and kisses him, and suddenly she kills him, and we learn that this is not Amberly mine and that she is the goblin who was freed and that she was being exploited. Lauren, to know the location of the chosen ones, kills all of them, and he returns to the palace, and we learn that he sees visions and knows the future. And when he approaches the chosen ones, he sees them being killed, and the king knows that the goblin who did this is surrounded by a black circle that hides his location, and he also says that the more the goblin weakens, the more the goblin's power increases, and he will not be able to. He is completely liberated, except when all the leaves fall, and then it will be the army of goblins that will carry out his criminal acts. So Arian, the son of the great king, finds out from those present that they are going out to talk to his father, and the one who asks him to abdicate the throne and let him be the one who rules, and this is because the people started to speak because of the presence of the Nin. So he sees his father and tells him the real king does not abdicate in times of crisis, and we go to Lenin, and the one who asks Willin to look for the princess, and this is the channel of the last chosen one, and the one who must get his back to a safe place, and at that time the chair will come back strong again, and he prepares to tell someone about his mission because Dagdamer has an agent present in the palace at this time. Amber goes to her aunt, who is the king's sister, and we learn that she was expelled from the palace because of her love for Alan. Amber tells her aunt everything and asks her to help her. At this time, we see Eritrea fighting with one of the travelers, and the one who called the head of the traveler sends you stones along with Eritrea, and this is because he knows well they are not ordinary stones, and they philosophize about their freedom. So Cefalu agrees to the agreement, and we return to Will, who knows where Amberly is when he enters her court, reads her diary, and learns the letter N quickly, and sees when he learns that Bear, the king's sister, has left the palace for a long time because of her love for him, and Willow now goes to Peria's place, and Who reacts when she sees that he is in good health and young, and we know that he is not getting old. And you say that Sabah is getting old alone without saying goodbye, then he is sold, then he has entered into a deep sleep for 30 years, and this is the one whose magic has returned to him, and he is looking for Amberly and sees her taking a bath in the room the lake gives its name to Alan, who follows him to protect her. This time, a new leaf falls from the tree, and a second goblin is released. The one who attacks Peria, kills, and protects Will Amberly. She still wants to save her aunt, but fails, and then tries to find the goblin. The one who calls herself there asks Will and Amber too. They escape quickly, and this is because there are many rebels who attack them, and on the way, he makes a mistake and says about the chosen ones who were killed. So Amberly daughter, when she learns that Lauren died and feels guilty, but will be comfort her and tells her about his mother who died and that he also feels guilty towards her. So Amberly becomes affected by his words and thanks because he saves her, and she says that he turned out to be brave, contrary to expectations, and she cries and tells him that she is embarrassed to return to the palace because of her aunt. Well, they are talking, they see that he is injured, so they took him in the castle, and he does not want to leave him. Lambert tells me that he will help him and will not leave him, and he knows that he will go to the Silver River because of its mud, which is famous for its healing. So she tells him Amberly says that she will stay next to Alanam, but Will refuses and tells her that she will go with him. They go to the river, and he brings Will the mud. When he comes out of the water, he does not find Amberly and breaks up when he finds Eritrea pinning her down and threatening Will, and the one who begs to let him go in order to save Alanan, but Amberly does not listen to him and kidnaps him and Amberly, which she blames because he left one of the travelers. She tricks him and laughs at him, and Amberly tries to provoke her so that they fight with each other and manage to escape, but Eritrea beats her and curses at her, and then she and will take her place in the traveler's place, and Cefalu tells Woe that the Jinn are the real thieves, and this is because they expelled them from their homes, and he asks Will that he remain one of them. This is because neither the elves consider him to be one of their own, nor do humans see him as a human. I have time for him until the night to think, and then Cefalu asks Eritrea to kill Amberly, but she refuses because she does not kill anyone, but Cefalu is arrogant to her and threatens that he will kill her if she disobeys his orders, and at this time he is out of control after that. All of his wounds will heal on their own, and we will return to Eritrea, who still insists on her opinion. She breaks Amberly's hand and asks her to run away, and this is because she does not want to kill her without her will, and no one is older than her. Amberly tells her that she will not walk without will, and suddenly, Eritrea is firm and tells her that she has a better idea, and then she goes out to Sifo and asks him to leave Eritrea behind. She is going to kill Eritrea. He is like Cephalo, sad and crying, and then he laughs, and this is because he does not care about Eritrea or her life. This time, Eritrea succeeds in controlling Amberly and falls to the ground. He is afraid and tells Cephalo that he will do anything to leave them, so he says Moa. Cephalo wants to know how to use the stones he has, and this is because unlike everyone else, he believed his father and believed in him, so he suffers from helplessness, and he understands that these stones are deafened, that he does not know how to use them, but Cephalo sees. And at this moment she appears agitated and frightened as everyone present at the same time that Amberly is saving Eritrea. She is being protected from the rebel, and suddenly the stones in Will's hand light up and he begins directing her towards the rebel, who dies from the effects of the stones, and then all the while he falls for him and Beam falls on him, and Eritrean fears for him, but Amberly pushes him away and raises the weapon on Cephalo, whoever is able to control her and still wants to kill her, and at this time he connects the Nen and transfers it to him. Amberly, the one who remains affected by his and her protection, and the one who is the Nen, overpower her and blames him, and this is because he was supposed to deliver the princess to the palace. On their way to the palace, they pass a village, and Bella, all of its people have been killed. It appears that the goblins are the ones who did this and are dismantled when they meet only one person from the village who is alive and remains imprisoned. Then she asks. Amberly learns his name after they come out of the room he was locked in, and learn that his name is Bandon and that his family are the ones who imprisoned him. Amberly decides to take him with her to the palace, but he refuses to visit her. This is because he cannot read Bandon's thoughts, and this means that he has supernatural abilities, but Amberly insists on her opinion and takes him with her. When they reach the palace, she reassures Amberly and puts her hand on his shoulder, and Pierre begins to cry. This is because he also sees the future and knows how people will die. Then Amberly learns that the members of the Elven Council will rule, and this is because she abandoned her responsibility and ran away, so she decided to ask Amberly to help her and tell what happened in front of the council so he would be kind to her. Her turn was over when she arrived at the palace, so she started to get upset with Amber. Why did she say goodbye and she walked away? When he found out, Bandon ran after Will and asked him to stand next to Amberly, telling him that if he didn't stand beside her, she would get into trouble. He asked him to trust him, so Bear left the council and defended Amberly in front of everyone present, and the king believed him when he knew it. Will is the last of the Shannara lineage, and Will says that he saw demons and goblins with his own eyes, even if he believes that they exist, and that there is no one he trusts more than Amberly, and this is because she is the one who will be able to save them. Ke looks at Amberly, and then she enters the place of the chair to take the flower, and her grandfather comes and tells her that if she fails, she will die. She decides to go before Amber. Why is the important thing important? She enters Chris, and there she tests Chris and makes her see a difficult scene in order to test her and make sure that she is up to the task. Amber calls Lee when she sees the form of disruption that will happen because of the war. She also sees Lauren and the one who tells her that she is a liar and that she will never die. And then Will appears in the appearance of an enemy who wants to fight her and asks her to be brave and kill him, and tells her that there's no mercy outside the walls and that it is useless for her to remain weak. This is because the devils feed on weakness, so she is misled at first, but she succeeds in the end and is killed. Then she takes the phenomenon and goes out to her grandfather, who remains proud of her, but at the same time is afraid because she is burdened with a great responsibility. And then the goblin appears, who remains hidden in the form of a guard, and kills the guardian of the tree. And we know that her goal is to kill the princess because Dagdur ordered her to do this, and after that the king meets with the princess and his children, Alon and Well as well, so that they know the place to which Amber will reach the flower and sell Arian, the king's eldest son, and this is because he is afraid for his niece, and at the same time he does not trust the devil, nor does he believe the story of the goblins. But the king remains adamant that they complete the mission, and this is because Algris said her word, and then Amber leaves for the meeting, and Will takes advantage of her approach and tries to talk to her, but she no longer wants emotions. It affected her, and so she stays away from Will. At this time, Eritrea is in front of the palace, and Cefalu stays with her. He asks her to enter the palace and steal Will's stones in exchange for him actually freeing her. She became afraid that Eritrea would arrest him, and she told him that she could spend her whole life in prison, but she would be forced to listen to Cephalus' words. This is because he also threatens her. And after a while, Amberly learns that the tree guard has died, and everyone in the palace is afraid for her, and the guards take her to a safe place. When he goes out and meets Bandon, Bella notices that his hand is injured, so he tries to treat it, but Bandon gets confused and asks him not to touch him because he is suspicious. There is something wrong. It is wrong. And Bandon told him that if he touches someone and sees that he is dead, he will feel sorry for him. He draws a symbol that Amberly had drawn. They ask if he has seen it before. So Bandon tells him that he saw this symbol engraved on the stone next to which she was dead. He had a second human with him, and at this time, Eritrea intervened. Whoa, they are surprised when she confesses to him that Cefalu asked her to steal him and that he will kill her, but Will does not believe that her father would do this, so Eritrea tells him that Cefalu is not her father and that she is his right hand. He kidnapped her when she was young and taught her to steal and how to catch men. So he agrees with him and apologizes to her, but he is not satisfied with his hands. Then Eritrea tells him that she wants to help him only to start a new life, and Eritrea begins to tempt him, and when she realizes that there's nothing wrong between him and the princess, he suffers from woe for the second time and enters into a relationship with her, and then Eritrea steals the stones and runs away. At this time, Bandon Bigot accidentally knocks down the princess friend, and then he finds out she is killed at the hands of Eritrea, so he tells her not to go down the stairs, and we return to Eritrea. She runs away quickly when Amberly sees her, but she is confused in the devil. She loses her appearance and tries to kill the princess, but she suddenly appears and is prevented from killing anyone. We return to Eritrea, and whoever catches her before she is arrested, she escapes, and the king accuses her of killing the guard of the Chris and trying to steal the princess. So I am surprised that Eritrea is defending herself, and this is because she did not tell anyone, and she says this to Lowell, but he does not believe her, but he is worried when Eritrea says that she has no interest in killing the princess, and this is because she had more than one opportunity to do this and did not do so. Will thinks about her words and defends her in front of Amberly, and he believes Nin, and this is because he knows that there is a powerful demon present in the palace and he is unable to catch him, and Alan Manuel knows that Bandon can know how people died, and that is why he asks him to touch Lauren, and he believes Bandon when he sees Amberly killing him, so he says he tells him that the one who saw him was not the princess, but a mutant demon with the ability to change his appearance, and an idea comes to Will to use Eritrea as a substitute, and he believes that the human who was next to the princess when she was dead is the same Eritrea, and the one who comes out of prison and wears the princess clothes, and Will gets tired when he learns that the mutant demon he was disguised as a guard, and this means that he knows their plan, so Will runs to catch up with Amberly, and she is shocked when she sees him running at her and still wanting to kill her. But the nun appears at the last moment and kills, and then the real Will appears, and we learn that the one who died was the transformed goblin, and then Amberly decides to imprison her. Eritrea is second, but Nan stops her and asks the princess to say what she knows. And this is because Amberly saw Eritrea in her vision, and they know that they are the three who will get Alazara to safety, and that he will not be with them because he will protect the palace. Then he prepares the three of them to travel, and Cefalu appears watching them, and we go back in time 10 years, and we will see Ender with Diane, and what we know is that they were in love with each other, and because of their being together, Slenter, the king of the dwarves, succeeds in entering the palace in order to take revenge on the king and kill him, but Amberly's father attacks him, and he defends his father, but in the end he is killed, and Ender is with him, and he feels guilty for the rest of his life, and we return to the present and see Amberly is with Chris, her bodyguard, and Eritrea is making it difficult for him because she walks long distances with her hands tied. He asks Amberly to untie them, but she refuses. At this time, Dagdoomer is angry with the mutant demon, and because she failed to kill the princess, he still wants to get rid of her, but she is baiting to leave her, and he is afraid that she will turn against him. The king is on the Nan, and without his protection, the entire palace will remain weak, so Pei agrees to Dagdoomer, and at this time, Svalu, the traveler, and Thing appear to kidnap the princess, and we see that the princess friend thanks Bandon and Da for saving her and asks him to meet her at night so they can talk to each other, so Pei agrees to Bandon, and it appears that he is impressed with it, and then the two talk to him and say that his ability is important and that he needs it, and then they take the chair, and this is because he wants to know the future, and they say that the chair is hundreds of years old, and that it has witnessed more life and death than can be counted, and in order for him to be able to control it, he must control his ability, so the House of Dead Bandon, but he agrees and holds it. Nan's hand sees him die, and we return to Cefalu, who takes the stones from Will and pegs Crispin, then takes the princess and walks away, and then Amber tries to convince Eritrea to help her, and she is afraid that she will give her 10 times the money that Cefalu gave her, but Cefalu frees Eritrea and the one who cares about the princess, and she walks away, and when night comes, he tries Cefalu intends to rape Amberly, but Eritrea comes to the rescue. However, she has killed all the travelers. She takes him with her to protect him from evil. We go to Lilo, who is treating Crispin's wound, and he breaks it when he sees Eritrea in front of him and returns his stones to him. At this time, they hear Crispin beating Cephalo, but the princess follows him, and after a while they arrive somewhere. There is no sound, and a soldier enters the area to explore it and is dismantled when they learn that the area is poisonous. In the palace, Ender decides to cooperate with Slenter, the killer of his brother, in order to find out the location of Dadva. Moore agrees that he takes them out and meets that he helps them, and we return to Len and the one who is training Bandon, but something goes wrong during training and Dagdammer affects him. At this time, the plane reaches the place it is supposed to reach, but it is believable when it sees goblins inside the palace, who is being killed by the guards. Cefalu asks the princess to free him so that he can help her. He tries to go soft and use stumped, but he does not know it and is afraid when he sees the goblins on their way to the princess. Though Cephalo has an idea and tries his hand too. The goblins come to the smell of blood, and then they run to the land of the sky, and they fall in love with it and with the goblins, and we return to Lander, and the one who goes out with slander, and the one who is home. Confirmed that Dagdammer kills his soldiers as he kills the elves, and Arian returns to the palace and talks to his father, who says that he needs his side, but suddenly Arian kills his father, and then his appearance changes to that of the king, and we learn that it is the transformed goblin who took the form of Arian in order to hide in the form of the king after that. She dreams of telling the boy, and she confesses her love to him in the dream, and she remains very happy, but suddenly he turns into a bloodthirsty man, and Amberly wakes up from sleep angry, and in the palace the transformed goblin decides that she is Palace's trust in Alnan is lost, and Iran talks to his father. And they say that Alnan was deceiving, and this is because he discovered that the sword can defeat Dagdammer, who is in the palace, and the palace shows Iran his father that he is looking for the sword and answers it, and we return to the princess and whoever does not know how to go along the way and kill Safel that they are entering Bacon Palace. So Crispin says that it is imaginary, but Cefalu remains certain of its existence, and this is because his family died there, but Amberly agrees that she will walk behind Cefalu because of the storm and asks him what time he will be surprised, so he tells her that it is half a day, so they threaten it. Amberly that she would let Crispin kill him if he came out, he would laugh at them and we would go back. Lenin, who knows that evil has already taken control of Bandon, and the one who suddenly rises up and takes the Nen's hand, and because of that sees this war, and whoever says that Bandon has already been under his control, and at that time the Nen turns and cries beside him. But Arian catches up with her, and the Nen demand that they leave quickly, and Bitakar is informed of his father's words, and that is why he asked she was helping him find the sword, so she told him that she had previously heard about the existence of a room under the palace, and she was taking him to show it to him. At this time, he was with Slenter, and the one who saw his soldiers being killed suddenly managed to find the sword and escape from it, and we would return to Cefalu. Whoever succeeded, he would arrive at the game and bring in Princess Will, Eritrea, and the guard. It breaks down when they see a little girl whose name is Mag, and she takes him to Ramo, her father, who was the castle guard before that and a soldier in the war. They inform Ramo that the bridge they want has been in the day for 2 years, and he offers them to stay there until the storm ends. There is no doubt that they will fall into it, and he cannot believe that the passage is during the day at this time. Ramo informs them that dinner is ready and he is afraid of the devils, and that is why he stays next to the castle door and eats Cefalu, the princess, and Eritrea from the food that Ramo made, but they are reassured when he agrees to eat from the plate that is with Cefalu, and Maggie prepares the food for the boy, and he talks to her when he learns that her mother is dead and tells her that it is him. He is also an orphan and tells her about the ocean when she sees the seashell he has, and it becomes difficult for him when he discovers that she never went outside the castle at all and does not know how life works outside. Suddenly he enters and sleeps, and it appears that Ramo had put a drug in all of the food, and at this time Arian succeeds in finding Steve and Beta Core. Lowell is on his way out and finds Mag sitting next to him, and Nadat Sada comes in exchange for him taking her outside the castle, and we see the princess and everyone with her clinging, and when he gets up, Ramo hits them. So why did Amber stand up, and you know that she is the princess? So Bate surprises Ramo and chooses tea. There she is alone, and in the palace we see Nan and him. He defends himself in front of the king and appears to be doing something bad because of Jedor's control over him. Alan is not lucky that the book contains the weapon. They ask Arian why he hides the weapon that will protect them from them. Alan tells him that the sword is an evil spell and that the sword will expose him to danger. So the king says that it is the danger in their midst. My father confirmed to us that the king is the same transformed devil and still wants to kill him, but Arian does not have a chance, and he kills with the sword he has, which makes Anna disappear, and we return to Riam, and the one who still wants to kill the princess, but he tortures her before he kills her, and he hates her grandfather, who was the reason for his wife's death. She leaves Amblin and leaves her, but Ramo keeps killing her, and at this time Eritrea succeeds in breaking her hands, and Bing and Wilf enter the room in which Amberly is in with the help of Meg, and he kills Ramo and breaks the hands of the princess, who is very happy in kissing him, and at this moment Eritrea enters and changes when she sees them together, and we go to Lander, and the one who talks to Diana about their relationship, which ended because they both felt guilty after the death of Ender's older brother. At that time, Ender became addicted to drinking and his life was ruined. Because of that, he lost Diana, who remained in a relationship with Varian. Currently, Asna does not talk to him. Slanter comes back and tells Ender that he believes him because he made sure of himself, and I am above Will. Bell found himself in a strange place far away from Eritrea and Amberly after the goblin was attacking, and then he decided to cut the rope that was holding him in order to save himself. He was looking for a princess in Eritrea, and suddenly a djinn named Burke appeared, and he was attacking Will, and this was because he was thinking of hunting the djinn and the one who would cut off the heart of any genie, and they take money for it, so they stand up, and they learn that he is also half a genie. We return to the palace, and Ender finds out where Dagdammer is, and he tells his father, the king, who is originally a mutant demon, and Ender falls, and Arian says that they are killing Dagdammer, so they are surprised that their father is asking them to do this, and this is because it is considered a suicide operation, but Arian, he still wants to prove his competence to his father, and he agrees, and we return to Amber Lee, who excels, and she finds herself in a lake, and she searches for Lulu Eritrea, and keeps calling for them until she sees Jinn hunters, and Eritrea suddenly appears and hides so that the hunters do not catch them. At this time, they treat the wounded Will and Den Burke, and they inform hearken that the hunters are cutting them off. He condemned them because of the goblins and those who believe that their valets have medicinal properties. I am worried about Amberly, and this is because the hunters will know who is here, and we will return to Eritrea. The one Amber tells me that they will come, and then she looks for a while, and while they are talking, the hunters and his house appear. But they succeed in escaping, but it is false, and what the group of hunters finds Amberly's sword and learns that she is a princess. What? Eritrea and Amber are running, they find a chance and fall into it, taking advantage of the place they find themselves in. This is because it appears that it is an ancient place for humans before the war. The places where the hunters are heard, and they are heard talking about the princess, and the one who remains the most important one. At her. Them. This is because her recovery will cost a lot. This time, Hugh appears wounded after being stabbed with the sword by Arian. He sees his guide, Nun, and asks him to take his soul. This is because he is tired of life and of achieving justice, so he stays tight and tells him that his time has not yet come and that he has a mission. It is great that he must complete it, and the guide must treat the wounds on his body, and he will return to life again at the same time that he is dying, and leaving will Burke and asks him to watch the hunters until he finds his friends. But Burke loses his nerve when he sees the person who cut off his body, and he is suddenly hurt, and he returns because he and Bing are actually helped by the fact that they control the hunter who tells them where the princess is. And then they kill Berkey in order to take revenge on him, and we return to Eritrea. She and Eritrea hear the voice of the hunters and try to hide from them. She and Amberly. Eritrea begins to attack them, and at this time, Amberly finds the map that will take her to safety, and she philosophizes falsely, and this is because they have grown up each other. It appears that Zora hates Eritrea, and this is because she broke up with her and left her, and that is why she still wants to kill her, but will suddenly appears and transports Amberly and Eritrea, who does not know how to get out of the pit with them because Zora hits her with an arrow and falls, and Amber is afraid why and keeps calling for her, and Ben goes to Lander and Aaron, and they arrive at a place. Dag Doomer, who knew them by their father, died, and the one who is currently in the palace is a transformed goblin in the house of Saddam. Arian writes that he is the one who killed his father, and he still wants to kill Dajan more. But he fails, and this is because he is killed with the same weapon that killed his father with, and Ender gets tired when he sees his brother killed, and at this time he appears. The non transports Ender, and the one who returns to the palace kills the transformed goblin disguised as his father. The nun tells him that he is currently the king. And then the visit of Eritrea takes a human colony, and she is upset, oh friend, because the place belongs to the Titans, and those who do not allow humans to live in it, and the first time you visit it you arrive to meet Tyan. Whoever decides to buy Eritrea at a high price. We still don't know what caused it, and not only that, but he also treats her, and we go to Amber Lee, who remains worried about Eritrea and keeps wanting to look for her and bring her back in any way, but Will asks her to calm down and think about how she will act. And this is because they do not want their emotions to control them. So Amber smiles at his words, especially when you see the trap, and in the palace, Alanan talks to Bendon and says that he will remain the priest after him, and that is why he is teaching him everything as his guide taught him in the past. Bendon is afraid of the responsibility and refuses, so he tells him that the choice is no longer in his hands, and at this time, Eritrea is superior and she is afraid. When she sees it, a woman with a disfigured face quickly comes out of the room and raises a gun on Tay, and the one who talks to her calmly tells her that she is allowed to walk and that she is not his slave or anything. The whole story is that he bought her to rid her of his fraud, so Eritrea tells him that her friends are going to look for her and she is welcome, so he comes out and says that he is going to go on them himself, and we return to Lulu, who suddenly hears a sound in the forest, and it appears that Cefalu has fallen into the trap that the hunters and Peter were setting, and that they get out in exchange for him helping him and informing him of the location of Eritrea. Will refuses this because he betrayed them the last time, but why is Ember still afraid for Eritrea and wants to find her in any way? That's why she agrees to go out with Cefalu, and at that time, Eritrea will be with Tay, who shows her the lives of people before the war, and Bin Bar. When Eritrea sees the gun, and Tay knows how to shoot a fire, and in the palace, Ender gets drunk because he feels like a failure after the death of his father and sisters, and now he tries to surpass him and says that he the king, but Ender refuses the position and says that he has never thought about remaining the king, and he wants Kyle, the leader of the Jinn Council, to be the one who takes over the rule, but the Nin warns, and when the night comes, Willow Amber reaches the night of the human colony, and he believes it when they see the capabilities they have and changes their clothing so that no one will discover them. And at this time you see them, Eritrea, but she does not go to them because Tay understands that her friends only wanted her for their own benefit, so she becomes affected by what he says, especially since it is the first time someone has given her a choice and decided that she would rather be in a human colony. We will go to Lamberley, and the one who hears Tay's assistant is talking to someone and saying that she will kill Eritrea if Tay does not kill her. Will tries to let Eritrea walk with him, but she refuses and says that she did not decide to go with them to safety, unlike them, and that is why she prefers with her people. This time, Ender rises, they accept responsibility. He fights the goblins as a king, and we return to Eritrea, and she learns from the disfigured man that her friends are in danger, and he asks her to don't believe Twy, because Eritrea fears for her friends, and she succeeds in controlling time, and the one who confesses to her that the Titans are asking her for a reward, and because of this, her friends will pay her instead, and This is because he intended to sell it to the Titans and those who will drink her blood, and in the force she ties up Wells' assistant, Amberly, and a fool, and leaves it to the Titans, but Eritrea she is rescued at the last moment and shoots down his assistants and bets a Cefalu, who asks her to run away and leave him, and she calls Eritrea when he apologizes to her for what he was doing to her, and tells her that she was the best thing in his life, and that is why he asks her to make up for it if she leaves him, and she runs away, and Eritrea is Willow, Amberly, and those who keep running until they find safety, and Cefalu prefers, and the one who is hit by fire will die, and the Titans will appear, and the one who will save the humans, and the princess and her companions will escape until they reach safety, but they are surprised by the river and do not know how to cross it, but Amberly finds a tunnel, and it appears that he is the one who will reach safety, and at the same time, Alan is training Bandon, and the one who sees Amber is why he knows that she is still alive, but he feels the pressure and cannot know where she is exactly. They think that Alan is pressuring him, and this is because the chair loses its leaves at a terrible speed, and he must be ready when Dammer moves, but Bandon can read minds. Elemen knows that he is putting pressure on him in training to stay strong, and the princess enters the tunnel and asks Eritrea, whoa, that they are on a road, and she is on a road, so they can get there faster, and this is because he is worried about her. But why does Ember insist on her opinion and tell him that he will not be able to do anything with the Titans and in the palace? We see Ender talking to Kyle, the leader of the Elven Council, who is not satisfied with Ender's presence in the position, and Beten says that he is the detractor of the royal family. At this time, Erider apologizes to the wolf for her words to him in the human colony, but he understands and tells her that he resembles her, and this is because he lived his entire life as a thinker. His safe zone he is trying and will not surpass Eritrea, and uses the stones he has with him, and what actually works is that they save her, reassures Will, and informs her of what happened, and Eritrea fears for Amberly, and he decides that she will get her out of the safety zone, and the gate opens, and Amber hears Will calling for her, but she remains confused between the chair and the one who is wary of emotions, and tells her that she must sacrifice herself and that all of them will be destroyed. But why did Amber choose Will and leave the area and know that the last leaf fell from the tree, and at this time he knows Amberly is on his way to the palace with Alzara, and then but Will is afraid for her and does not want to leave her alone, but in the end he hears her words and tells him that he will return, and Eritrea begins to attack the Titans. In the palace we see that he is loved, and this is because he remains dangerous and disappears, and she is in prison and remains devastated when she sees him, and he apologizes to her, Bonin, for what he did to her, but suddenly he gets choked and asks the guard for the key and who will kill her, so the guard flies away and says that he gives him the key, and then Bonin kills him in a brutal way. At this time, Will and the princess arrive at the palace, but they find goblins standing in front of him, and Amberly thinks that she will enter the palace through a tunnel. She knows him well, and she tells Lily that they will stay with him until the night, and then she talks to him about her feelings and tells him that she wished they would meet in other circumstances, and she confesses her love to him, so Basit will comes home and tells her that he loves her too, and that they will stay together after the war is over, and outside the tunnel we will see Ender. He speaks to the soldiers and tells them that the princess is outside the palace alone and afraid just to save them, and that they must remain like her and die for Chris, and then the war begins between the Jinn and the demons, and she receives a chance and comes out of the tunnel to go to the place of the tree, but one of the demons smells her scent and transmits woe with the supernatural stones. The Nan appears and Slenter stays with him. He learns that the goblins are fighting with them and takes them to deliver the Chris. During the battle, Diana sees Arian, who fights with the demons and kills and believes Ender when he sees his brother and asks for Iren from him, kills him, and saves him. At this time, the Nen stops at DJ Damon's face until Amberly intervenes to Chris, and Will calls when she confesses the truth and tells him that she is the one who appears and that she will transform into Chris in order to save everyone, and asks Amber why she is saying goodbye to him. At this time, a very dangerous person enters upon them, and he still wants to prevent the princess, but Will uses his strength to the point that Amber enters the tree and brings the Kree back to life, and everyone dies. The demons and the war ends, and after a while we see him standing next to the trees to talk to Amberly, who does not respond to him and fights with the nun, and this is because he knew from the beginning and what they said. So the nun tells him that Amberly chose to sacrifice herself to save the world, and he also tells him that his father would have been proud of him if he had been. He is alive as he is proud of him, and we see that Ander is sad for his niece, FBO Saynan, and he tells him that she is still with them and taking care of all of them. Then we see Bandon while Shar coming to his kingdom after he escaped from the palace, and it appears that he will take the place of Dagnar, and we return to Lol, who decides that he will return to Eritrea, save her, and put now before he walks away and thanks him. This is because he is the one who helped him know himself. At this time, Eritrea appears with the tyrants and those who are handing over to their leader, and she believes it when she sees him, and it appears that she knows him.